Yeah, now we're talking. This is 180. Welcome. I'm Karl Clauson. I have with me Lori Borgman. She wrote The Death of Common Sense. Now, let me give you some background on this. This just began like a work that she put out there, and it's been published into a book, and she's combined it with some other things. It contains, The Death of Common Sense is newly published just a year ago. It contains the original obituary for common sense, published in 8 countries, along with new essays on his survivors. I love this. His wife, Discretion, 1 daughter, Responsibility, 1 son, Reason, and 2 stepbrothers, Half-Wit and Dimwit. I love that. With me right now, let's bring her in, Lori Borgman. Good to have you with me today, Lori.
Hi, Karl. Thanks for having me on the show. By the way, great show. I've been listening online.
Oh, I appreciate that very much. I'm really happy to have you on board here with us today. What caused you to write this, other than the fact that you're seeing common sense go out the window, right?
Well, it was 1998, the beginning of the politically correct culture, zero tolerance, everything, little boys getting suspended for kissing girls on the playground, and crazy things like that. And I was at my computer one morning with CNN on the background, and I heard a story from North Carolina. It said a town council was going to pass a law about what type of furniture you could have on your front porch. And it just pushed me over the edge. This column wrote itself in record time. At the time, my editor at the Indianapolis Star, it was the only paper I was in at the time before I went national, she said I'd written a classic. And I thought, oh, she's just buttering me up because they never pay me very much. And then she said it will outlive you. And I thought, no, it's not going to outlive me. And it was really popular, and then it sort of faded away. And then a few years later, the Internet took off, and I Googled it, and it was everywhere. It was attributed to Anonymous. He owned it now. But she was right. It's been published everywhere from
so good.
A yoga magazine in Spain to the Society of Explosive Engineers, one of my favorites. But my all-time favorite...
Hold it. There is a Society of Explosive Engineers?
And don't you want those people on your side, Carl?
Yeah, I do. I don't want some spontaneously combusting engineer around me, for crying out loud.
But my all-time favorite has been published in a newsletter for the Colorado State Penitentiary. And I'm happy about that. I really am. I value those readers.
Okay, this is like mandatory reading. You got guys like Mitch Daniels who thinks this thing's good. Is he? That's funny, isn't it? The guys. I mean, everybody's jumping on the bandwagon with your work here, Lori.
It is. That's pretty nice when the governor gives you a shout out.
Yeah, it really is. Lori, where are you? You're writing now all the time, aren't you?
I write once a week, and I'm distributed nationally throughout the States and Canada. I usually write family humor.
Yeah, and one of the things that I got a kick out of is that you even deal with things as bizarre as, hazards to upper arm flab.
It's all there, Karl. It's all there. And let me tell you this, it is a tough time to be a humor writer. For one thing, humor is based on exaggeration, and our lifestyles are so exaggerated today that it's hard to find anything to exaggerate or poke fun of.
I had never thought of that, but that is tough, isn't it?
Oh, and if I try to write off the news, you troll the websites looking at news stories, I'm depressed. I got to take a break for the afternoon.
Lori, something tells me you don't have a problem coming up with a punchline every now and then. My guest right now, Lori Borgman. She's a columnist, author, speaker. She writes wit, insight. She's a humorist. And somebody's called her the Mark Twain without the cigar. Why don't you have a cigar?
Oh, no, thank you.
Okay, I'm just checking because I know girls now do smoke cigars, so I was just checking if if you had a moral obligation not to or something. But You've written The Death of Common Sense. It's a great little read, and when I say little read, some people may not understand. This is a little read, but it's powerful, isn't it?
It is. It was like an obituary, a tongue-in-cheek obituary for common sense, and I detail how he fell ill. He fell victim to the 1960s, if it feels good, just do it virus. And then how he loses more strength, like when the Ten Commandments became contraband and judges stuck their noses in everything from Boy Scouts to golf. And then he eventually lost his will to live. And he drifted in and out of consciousness, but was kept informed of regulations regarding low-flow toilets and the coming of the CFL light bulb.
Oh, Lori, you're killing me. Okay, I'm going to ask you a more serious question now. You look at our country and you look at our world, you look at a news cycle, in all seriousness, I can weep. I really can. I've hit some stories today that just make me go, man, you got to be kidding me. I know you're a humorist, and I know you write a column every week, and it's all over the United States. But as a woman that's walking, through this world, you look at it, and you see it crumbling a bit. From a humorous perspective, what do you see as the solution?
Well, Carl, I have to say I grieve. It's mind-numbing how quickly things are spiraling, and I absolutely grieve, and I have to regroup at the foot of the cross, and we have role models. We have role models for what we need to do. We have the Jews in the Old Testament. We have the early church, so there's no need to despair. To despair is to turn your back on God. If anything, we engage, and we stand firm, and we get an opportunity to be a people for a time such as this. Why did we think we'd escape? Our brothers and sisters in Africa have suffered. Our brothers and sisters in Egypt are suffering now. Why did we think we'd escape? Because we're Americans? I don't think so. I think it's a challenging time, but it's a time to be invigorated. It's an opportunity to take a stand.
Yeah, I so resonate with that. Lori Borgman, my guest, and the name of the book is called The Death of Common Sense and Profiles of Those Who Knew Him. If we believed in reincarnation, I don't happen to at all. I have some Indian friends from India that do. But if common sense was to be reincarnated, how would it come back?
I think there are two fronts on which we can start, and I think all change starts. I love the quote by Ronald Reagan, all change begins at the family dinner table. That's where it starts. It all starts in the home. But on two fronts, we have to change the way we think. Our thinking has been so conditioned by technology and social media. We want instant gratification. And I love the media and internet and computer. Don't touch my computer.
Yeah, you are it. You are the media.
Step away.
Right.
But we have to link actions with consequences. God is not mocked. As a man sows, so shall he reap. And I think we did that at home with an if and then construct, with our kids. If you leave the backyard, then you'll have to come inside. If you have the car out after curfew, then you lose your privileges. Or to my husband, if you are unfaithful to this marriage, then I will hurt you.
That's always a good one to hold over his head.
It is. But that if-then,
yes.
We have got to think beyond the end of our nose. How will my actions today, in the next 5 minutes, in the next week, have consequences a month from now, a year from now? And we just don't do that because we're living in the now, tweeting, Facebooking, sending you the picture now from the wedding, even though we're still at the wedding, across from the table at each other at the wedding reception. We need to slow it down and link actions with consequences.
I think you're right on. Lori Borgman, everyone, the author of, and you can get a copy, The Death of Common Sense and Profiles of Those Who Knew Him. This thing's gone to, how many countries has it gone to?
8, and translated into 4 languages. So if you need it in Icelandic or Greek, I can get that for you. You can get it at my website, LoriBorgman.com, or it's also on Amazon, and it's an ebook.
Yeah, that's great. LoriBorgman.com and Amazon, and it's in ebook form, so it's out there, and it's available, and it is good. Lori, thanks so much for being with me today on 180.
Oh, thank you, Karl.